Yeah, see, I'm Tom Thomas, and I welcome you to the meeting that is really jointly sponsored by Thomas Rush and the Randolph County Geological Society. It's a beautiful Saturday morning with lots of sunshine, and I hope that has something to do with why the crowd is not here. There's lots of other things to do on the day. Thomas Rush has written a book, which some of us have read some of, and some of us have read a lot of it. And it's called Reality's Pen. And he's going to be talking about that and about the reflections on family history and culture of his family, and also the town of Asheboro, because all of that figures in, and it's all. Please help me welcome Thomas Rush.
Thank you for the introduction. Good morning.
Good morning, Thomas.
My name is Thomas D. Rush, and I'm here to talk about my book, Reality and Reflections on Family, History, and Culture. The book is published by Mill City Press out of Minnesota. I have copies of it with me for sale today, or if you wish to purchase it later, you can find it on Amazon.com, both in its hard copy and in its ebook format. I want to talk in seeking me out to do this presentation. I think the fact that I was born right here in Asheboro and that I are the main reasons that I appeal. I grew up and completed all 12 years of my schooling right here in town, graduating from Asheboro High School in 1980. Given that this is primarily an Asheboro crowd, I know that you're probably asking yourself the question that I usually ask when I meet someone new who says that they're from Asheboro. And that question is, who are your people? If the person has a significant history here, and they name several people from their family, it does not take us long to figure out where they fit within their family. When my parents are Mr. Pearl Rush and Miss Hortense Crisco Rush, my father is from a small town about 50 miles south of here called Ellerby, while I believe my mother was born in Moore County in a little town of Robbins. At some point in their respective lives, they both made their way to Asheboro. I have 4 older living siblings, 2 brothers and 2 sisters. I also have an older sister who is deceased. My father's lineage includes Rushes and Sneeds, while my mother's lineage incorporates Criscos, Waldens, Schambergers, Manuses, Browers, and a host of others. As for my education, I have a Bachelor of Arts degree in history with a concentration in African American studies from Haverford College, located just outside of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. In trying to give you the scope of what my book is about, it's fair to say that it is about a combination of things. First and foremost, it is about how God's power works itself out through a human life, in this case, mine. That power begins with Him granting me 2 of the greatest parents that the world has ever known, Mr. Pearl Rush and Miss Hortense Crisco Rush. Excuse me, I'm getting lost in the speech here. Many examples of the details of their parental love, wisdom, intelligence, and character are played out in the pages of the book, with everything positive that has ever happened to me being a reflection of who they are. This is one of the reasons why it was crucial to me that a picture of my parents appear on the cover of the book, since they are the best symbol that I can think of for all that I am. Asheboro, North Carolina, as the place of my upbringing, is central to the book's meaning. I grew up on the east side of Asheboro in a black community known as the Hill. While growing up there was comprised of ingredients of many different things, at its core, the vast majority of families there related to one another as if we were all part of a gigantic extended family. For those of us who lived there were very few black people in town who we did not know and carry on some form of familiarity with. It was an exciting and enriching place to grow up, filled with the incomparable, mysterious, exhilarating experiences of childhood. To a large degree, the book details a coming-of-age tale, since I went through my formative adolescent years during the 1970s, a period pronounced for its peculiarly distinct black cultural feel. The idea of community was no mere concept. It was lived out in the daily experiences of our lives. The fact that I grew up at a time demarcating the very line separating segregation from integration in a small southern town gives my book a unique flavor. The distinct tenor of the time played out in my daily racial experience. I attended 2 years at the predominantly black school of Central Elementary before legal integration forced me into the integrated environment of Lemley Park. As I was preparing my remarks for today, I was trying to find that one story from my book that would define what it meant to grow up on the hill. That one story that said it all. But let me say that I failed in that effort because there is no one story from my book that condenses the hill into a single telling. Rather, the stories from my book that define the hill are like pieces of a quilt, where patches are interrelated and so dependent upon one another to the point where a missing patch damages the whole. They have to be seen in their entirety to get a sense of what it meant to grow up on the hill, which means one must read the whole book, since every story in it contains the heartbeat and soul of the hill. Love as a concept can be meant in many different ways, on many different levels. So when I think of the hill as a specific geographic location and what it has contributed to my life, what I feel is love. That's what it is. It's love. Thank you. Secondly, I wanted to read a short story from the book. This person that I'm going to read about is not from the hill, but she's a relative. And the values that she incorporated are the values that I learned on the hill, which is kind of why I'm reading this story. And the title of the story is She Kept Her Word. A group of Waldens finally got beyond our inertia, and we were putting the finishing touches on our first family reunion in the early summer of 2008. My cousin Tina and I had put in nearly a year's work to become familiar with a wide range of relatives via telephone and in person. As we were tying loose ends, it seemed to me that there was one missing detail. We were uncertain whether one of our most revered, oldest, and knowledgeable family members, 102-year-old Aunt Mary, planned to attend. I informed Tina that Aunt Mary's attendance at the reunion would be icing on the cake, and I did not know how to approach the subject. My conversation with Tina took place shortly after our initial visit to Aunt Mary's home, and though she had made us feel comfortable during our stay, I was still a little intimidated because I knew the legendary place that Aunt Mary held with certain family members and within her community. I was shy in approaching an icon while remaining uncertain if she would even recall our meeting. Once my doubts were laid on the table, Tina simply looked at me and said, "Thomas, if you really want her to be here, the only thing I can tell you is to ask her." The plain logic and simplicity of Tina's words was like a punch in the face. Several days later, I overcame my skepticism, dialing Aunt Mary's number. When she answered the phone, I identified myself, careful to remind her of our recent meeting. She surprised me by remembering who I was and treated my call as if it was the most normal thing in the world. I spoke of the coming reunion and asked if she'd mind if I dropped by her home to discuss it with her. She had no problem with this. 2 or 3 days passed before I was headed down highways 220 and 705 to meet with her. Once we got our greetings out of the way and went through planned reunion events, I looked at her and said, Aunt Mary, it would mean a lot to the family if you were able to make it. paused, taking some time to mull it over, finally asking the question, so you say most of it's going to be in Asheboro, right? I nodded my head in the affirmative. Well, I don't get out much. When I do, going to church is one of my favorite things. I haven't been able to make it to church in about a year, but I tell you what I'll do. I won't be able to make it to the Asheboro portion of the reunion, but if I'm feeling up to it, I'll do my best to be present at our church when you all come down here on Sunday to attend service. I thought our suggestion was an excellent idea. In the months that followed my meeting with her, I went out of my way to get to know her, visiting her home at least once a month. I will eventually go to my grave remembering the specialness of my discussions with Aunt Mary, because she was a brilliant and gentle teacher, most of her words relaying lessons from her Christian faith. She was old school, pure and simple, and I always felt renewed when leaving her home. I marveled at her ability to get her point across with clearness and simplicity, the idea that one should live by a certain set of principles lying at the core of her messages. It was reassuring to see someone who lived consistent with her beliefs, and I knew that in talking with her, I could hear echoes of my parents. The most positive proof that I have for Aunt Mary's integrity occurred on August 17, 2008. A group of about 35 Walden relatives was present at New Zion AME Zion Church in Robbins to conclude the last day of our reunion, and she was sitting right there at the front of the church. After service, several family members went over and introduced themselves, and I held a short conversation with her as well. In the days, months, and years since that day, I've often reflected on the meaning of her presence. By being there, she showed another dimension to her old school values. In a world filled with lies, deceit, duplicity, half-truths, and hypocrisy, she had done a remarkable thing to me by simply keeping her word. That is what I will always remember, a memory accompanied by what I repeatedly whispered to myself about her. She kept her word. It's as simple as that. She kept her word. Now, I guess, if anybody has any questions, it can be anything about the book or whatever.
What started going during
That's a good question. It's simple. Mortality. My father got sick. My father had been telling me about going to talk to some older relatives on my mother's side. Someone telling me this was when he was well, but I didn't take it serious. But when he got sick, it reminded me of my mortality. And one of the things that happens is you want to find out more about your family. And part of it was the grieving process after he passed. So I spent maybe a year or so after he passed learning more about family. And what, as far as family or it's going to be a continuous search. That's when he put me in the grave and say, Ashley, that's when that was stopped. Well, that part of it, yeah, beginning of another story. I understand. You're right. But there was a lot of stuff going on at the time, a whole lot of stuff. So kind of like I had a midlife crisis at first. And one of the things I wanted to do was try to go to law school. And there was some stuff going on with my father at home, and all of that combined to bring me back. I did attempt law school, it didn't work out. But I wouldn't give those. I spent 13 years with my father. I wouldn't trade that. There's about 4 or 5 books in my head right now. But I think the next book will probably be even more Asheboro than this book. And my parents will probably be in the cover of that.
and being gone for so long and then coming back for family reasons. If you don't realize how
It's not just a geographic idea. It's principles, it's values, it's history. There's so much tied to that. And that goes with me everywhere I go. I mean, I'm in Chicago, I'm in just outside Philadelphia, Hanford, that's there with me too. So, like I said, every story in this book, though it may not have physically taken place here in Asheboro on the hill, both of those places are still there.
Thomas, I'm a native here, but I don't even know why God even called it hill.
Huh?
I don't know why.
I don't either, to be honest. I mean, Mr. Tal Harden sent me a picture. Well, not a picture, it was an article from like the late 50s. And my father had told me the story because it happened on my street. At the end of our street, I think in the late 50s, there was a family called the Massenburgs. There were about 8 or 9 people in that family. And this was before smoking detectors. That house caught fire, and I think like 7 of them died. And that he sent me the newspaper article about that. And in the newspaper article, it said that it happened in the Baptist Hill community of Asheville.
Do you remember what year?
I know where the marker is in Mount Calvary, so I could find out. I mean, I'm guessing like 56, 57.
I mean, I remember my mother telling me a story about a house burning and like a family was
I
killed.
think 2 of them died. I can't remember how, but I know it's a real large family. I know that most of them died. And physically, from where I live right now, that's not 200 yards because it's on the same street. But that's the first that I know of, or any only places where I've heard it referred to, where I could even get the Baptist. I don't know why Baptist. I don't know if it has to do with the Baptist church. It's there on Martin Luther King. But in the other thing, growing up, or even now, people think that when you say the hill, that's the epithet. We never looked at it. We never looked at that as a derogatory term. That was just a classification.
I never thought of it.
Yeah, but I've heard people, sometimes people say, almost like in a real sensitive way, being careful not to call it that because they feel like they're going to offend me. Yeah, but I never.
You're hitting on some things that I'm trying to formulate some questions because when I was growing up, I knew where the hill was at, but what are the boundaries of it? I couldn't tell you.
Well, basically, if you,
I never knew.
okay, rough. Salisbury Street, you go to the mall, and then you get the church on the left. If you turn left on Martin Luther King, then you go down Martin Luther King, you come to Old Cedar Falls. If you make a right, I guess it would be as far as Winningham Farm, which would cross over Preston. There's some families, most of those families are black. And so I guess I know this is kind of a weird map, but Salisbury, then you have Elm, go over to Preston, go from Preston over to Gold Hill Road. That's pretty much that area. So Salisbury, Preston, the other boundary, the northern boundary would probably be Elm Street.
So that area geographically is actually on the hill.
Hard, yes.
Now, when I was, like I said, when I was growing up, I knew where the area of town you were talking about, the boundaries, and I couldn't tell you boundaries. Now, like yesterday at work, I was telling a 39-year-old lady about trying to get her to come here this morning. Yeah, she didn't know what I was talking about when I said the hill. She goes, "Where's the hill?"
Well, if you had said, and this is just a fact, you said the black community in Asheboro, then she probably wouldn't.
See, when I was probably in junior high school here, you could have, and, your friends, we were black, we were white, we were, Hispanic, we were Indian, we were whatever else. But the friendships that we had, because we all had friends that were, like I had friends that were, over to eat. My mother enjoyed my friends as much as I did, but it wasn't as if there was a separateness. But in going home every day, now as a 62-year-old, there was a separateness, but there wasn't a separateness at school, in the playground, and everywhere else.
That's the way it works. You were quote unquote integrated in public spaces, but in our private spaces, we would say that's the way I grew up. I mean, I didn't have white friends that came over to my house. I didn't go over there. I met them in school. I met them in Prairie Gym. I swam in the same pool at Memorial Park. But when I went home, I was living in my community, and that was 100% black. So most of my social stuff, I was with black people in my community, and that's what I'm talking about today. And that's special, right? I can give you 3 examples that I was thinking. I don't know if you know a woman named Sherry Allen. She's a year older than I. Now, me and Sherry weren't the best of friends. We knew each other. She grew up on the next street. She's a year older than me. We see each other. So we were friends at a distance. But she had something, I had some work done in my house with a program, with a guy who's from Charlotte. And I asked him, I said, can you do work in Charlotte? He said, yeah, I started it. So does this program work for that? Yeah. So I was on Facebook, and I asked her in a private message, do you need some of this work? She said, well, I might. That program might work. She said, well, call me. So I called her. Now, I hadn't talked to Sherry probably 25 years. Like I said, we weren't the best. But what I remember when she came on the phone was that excitement. And it had nothing to do with me. It was a shared history of a place and a time and all of that.
That's right, and that's exactly what I grew up in.
And then another guy named Charles Baldwin. Charles was probably 7 or 8 months younger than me. And Charles lived a rough life.
Charlie Baldwin?
No, you're talking about a different one.
Oh.
Yeah, that they're cousins. But the one I'm talking about is much younger than me. But he grew up up the street from me with an extended family. I still don't know how they did it. That house might have been 900 square feet. And at one point, there were 16 people in it. But the good part, as a young kid, 5 or 6 of those kids were boys my age. So I had a ready playground right there. So they were at my house. I was at their house, in and out of each other's houses. We grew up together. He's walking down the street, and he just stopped me in the front yard, and he started talking. And that same enthusiasm that I heard from Sherry was in his voice. We grew up together. We know each other's parents, played in each other's yard, all of that. Same thing. I was in Time Warner Cable last Friday. I don't even want to mention this person's name because they had so many problems. This person may be 8 or 9 years older than I am. At one point, I know there were rumors that he had gone crazy, had a lot of drug problems, alcohol problems. And when you walk in Time Warner Cable, you have to get a number to sit down. And so the only place to sit was next to this person. So I get the number and I go to sit beside him. And before I could sit down, what's up, brother? And he said, yeah, you thought I forgot who you were. And he started laughing. The same thing. And I have that happen over and over and over about, particularly with community members that I don't know.
What's one of the most surprising things that you found out about your history?
Surprise.
Like something you never thought you would find or discover?
I don't think of one. I don't know if it's surprising, but it's kind of an interesting thing. When my father passed, maybe this might have been a week, 2 weeks later, a guy named Fred Terry called me. He was from Florida. And he said that he was several years younger than my father. And he said they had grown up together in elevators. And he said, I don't know if you're a basketball fan, but let me tell you, he had not been born in segregation, there's no doubt in my mind he would have had a scholarship in college because he was the best basketball player I'd ever seen. And he said, and I don't know if you know anything about this guy named Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He said, Kareem wasn't even born. Your father had a hook shot long. And I just, it's crazy. Because growing up, Kareem was my favorite player. And basketball has always been a thing. My father had never talked about it. And I had always thought that this was just me making this willful decision on my own to love basketball. So when I heard that, I said, is this a DNA thing?
Thank you.
Thomas, I was struck deeply by your remarks back to childhood peer that was from Detroit, I believe, but he was visiting in Asheboro, and you met him on the playground, and you told him about what I would say was your calling to go on to college, and I thought that was the most powerful thing in the book.
Tell me why. I mean, you're going to teach me something about my book. Go ahead.
Well, you just spoke with your soul and your spirit and your DNA that's obviously there, and somebody had just reignited it in you, and you were firm in who you are. And I just admire you so much for that.
But I'm going to be real frank and saying where that part came from.
Well,
Because it's
I
clear
think
in
I
my
know
book.
part of it, but I want to hear more about
Malcolm
where.
X. It came from Malcolm X. Okay. When I was in the army, Malcolm had a roommate or a coworker reading autobiography, and I'd heard different things about Malcolm, but I never heard anything coherent. And I said, well, this guy's reading autobiography of Malcolm X. Here's my chance to learn from Malcolm himself, who Malcolm is. And it was totally different from the stereotype. Because the thing that blew me away about Malcolm, and I could talk about Malcolm all day. That's the truth. Ask Lynette. Who copies the book because they want to learn? Who does that? I don't know anybody that does that. And when I read it, I had to put the book to it. I said, who does that? What drives a human being to do that? And then he talked for 3 or 4 pages about all the different books that he had read. And I said, wait a minute, this is a blueprint. If he's done this, I can do this. And then at the time, we're talking late 60s when he's talking, he's talking about African American history. He's talking about people I never heard about. I wasn't taught that at Asheboro High School. I wasn't taught that at Sam. Nobody taught me that black people did anything important. I mean, they might mention 2 or 3 of it, that's it. But here's the whole world that he's introducing me to about me. And I mean, and when he said those things, it resonated because my parents, stuff they'd said. I mean, some of these stories I haven't even written. I'm going to write, which is going to be in my next book. One of the stories I'm thinking, when I was 6, my mother, we got up for school. We're going to go to school, just like me and my brother. Mom said, nope, you're not going to school today. I said, what? No, you're not going to school today. No, I said, no. What we're going to do, you can play. We got up, we dressed, we went outside and played. At a certain time of day, Mom came and got us. Come on in the house. What? Sit on the couch. Turn on the TV. I'm 6 years old. This doesn't mean much to me. I go to school the next day thinking we were exceptions. Then I realized the whole black community didn't go to school that day. And what was it she made us watch? On Luther King Jr.'s funeral. And I said, with who I eventually become, it's almost like she knew me before I knew me. No? Because black history is my thing. And who better to center that around than Martin Luther King? And then so many different things that happened to me. You've seen it in the book. I can say this. If you do a study of just general American population or African American population, segmented or together, you say name the 10 most impactful African Americans in history. I can promise you, you're going to get Barack Obama on that list, you're going on that list, and you're going to get Martin Luther King on that list. I have met Barack Obama. I had a good friend who was Martin Luther King's good friend, who wrote his most controversial speech. And when I was in Chicago, there's a guy named Hakeem Madabuji. I was teaching at a school. His wife was the director. Hakeem has written several books. Now, I didn't know Hakeem well, but he was an acquaintance, and we would speak. And I didn't even realize this as much then as I do now. Hakeem is good friends with Malcolm X's family. I'm from Asheboro, North Carolina. How does somebody from Asheboro, North Carolina become good friends with Martin Luther King's good friend? Meet the first African American president in history himself, and then, be tied to Malcolm X's family. I mean, that can't be accidental. And I feel like all of who I am, all the DNA in my house, all the DNA in my community acted as the law of attraction to pull it. I don't have to search for it. It comes to me because this is who I am.
But you know who reinforced it beautifully? It's the lady I know too, Dr. Penny Smith.
Yeah. She was the only teacher, I'm going to clarify this, the only teacher at Asheboro High School that just took for granted that I was going to college. That didn't happen. And then when I did, I had a guidance counselor try to roadblock me. Told me I wasn't Haverford material. I'm sitting here with a Haverford degree. What does that mean? That I'm not Haverford material.
And then what did you do personally, like Malcolm did that?
Okay, well, I did 3 different things. I did it at 3 separate times. The first time I said, if Malcolm can copy the dictionary, at least I can do this. I went and bought a book called Burn Vocabulary Dictionary. And it had like 2,900 of the main words used on standardized tests, SAT, LSAT, all of that. And so at first, I was just writing like 10 words a day out of that book and studying it. Just writing the words. I didn't write the definitions and trying to memorize it and doing 10 a day. I did that for like 10 months until I did the whole book. But I felt like, there's a 10-year gap here. Maybe 10-year gap. I'm in Chicago later. I need to do that again, but I want to be more detailed this time. So I started writing the pronunciation on one side of the card and the definition on 10 words a day, which was more work. And so, until I finished the book, I still have those cards at home. And what I would do is a lot of times if I had to catch the bus, or if I was at the doctor's office, any dead time, I would put those cards, study. I was using that dead time. And that's directly from Malcolm. Malcolm said if his mind, if he was anywhere, and he had 15 free minutes, his mind was in the book. And I told him, and this is true, I have never seen a mind work that fast. You have somebody in the middle of a debate, somebody standing here, and they're debating. That person gives a long spiel about what they think and what their position is, and immediately this person knocks down every single argument with the most lucid I've never seen in my life. And I said, there's something going on. That person has something to teach me. That person has something to teach the world. And I believe that.
How far have you gone back into knowledge?
I think I got from my great-great-great-grandmother, Julia Walker, born in 1822, died in 19. I really want to do something in politics because that's where the name is.
Right.
And I don't, the most I know about my father's people, rushes and sneaks. That's cool. And I think my grandfather was from Anson, but went over to Richmond.
Right, Anson County broke into Richmond County. But, yeah, I just want to say from just the standpoint of meeting you on, I grew up in Asheboro, that website, which is a treasure to all of us, that just seeing the old pictures on there are so amazing to me. But the day that you came on there and posted was, here is such an amazing addition to that site, because it wasn't something that we had. And it's a great pleasure for you to be there.
And we're hoping your example is an inspiration to others in the Black community to submit their histories. Because for those of us who grew up here, we knew and lived and worked and loved those, many of us. And it would be so enriching to our lives to see more of them come to life again through this Facebook page and through maybe your future writings.
But I think in general, I don't know what it is. I know what it's about me. It was the mortality thing that drove me to do the family research.
Yeah,
For some reason, people don't seem to be into it.
you have to be 50 years old. Is what happens.
That is.
Craig, you're a little younger. I know.
Yeah, but I like it though. I got into the family history thing. I really did. You did you get that?
Well, who's your sister? Let me do this. Who are your people?
My people are pals.
You related to Clyde?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
And you some like Robbins, the Manuses, the Redderlows, all of them. But my sister is Princess Spence.
Okay.
She graduated in '84.
They're from Ramsey?
Yeah, Asheboro. Who's from Asheboro?
All
You know my cousin Benita.
Benita Fowler?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, Benita's a year older than me.
See, we go through the same ritual. Is, just like the hill was yours, it was a community for each one of us. Our street, our block, that was our community. It's just like nowadays, there's not many of us left that know we can name the people. We used to could name everybody that was in Asheboro High School and who their parents were and who their children were. But nowadays, it's not
Yeah.
community anymore.
But a lot of people have moved away.
And moved to.
Yeah. Exactly.
Well, usually it takes 20 years to get away and then 20 years to get back. But it's, like I said, it's, I used to think about, because we spent a lot of time, my cousin and I down at Fraser Park. And the little park down there, the little tunnel that went under Donna Lee Lofton School. And I mean, this is so stupid, but we were little and dumb, and the greatest source of entertainment on the planet to 7-year-old kids was going in that tunnel and reading the stuff on the wall, and then not telling anybody about it because you get in trouble if you did.
Yeah.
And
Mine was Richard Pryor.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah. Wait till the parents leave and then put on Richard Pryor.
Pryor's album got thrown out of my house many times. I have to go save it. But, well, I would love to, if you're ever, if I can help you go further back into research. I'd love to.
Yeah, and I think part of the problem is like we have a million Anderson Walden in the Walden family, so trying to separate them out and figure out which one is which. And
Do you know where they came
they came from Virginia.
from, Virginia?
Yeah, because I've
That's
heard
your
there's a
best
big
start.
Walden reunion in
Right.
Virginia. So
Because we know all of us that, my people came here, it wasn't Randolph County in 1753. So all you gotta know is that they came down from somewhere.
okay.
But I have enjoyed your book, and I also enjoyed the big argument.
his daddy got transferred to Fremont, Ohio, and then they moved back here.
Okay. I knew him after the Ohio piece.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I don't remember what grade that was. That's Lindley Park. I don't remember what grade. So in my mind, he was from Ohio. He may have been initially from Mississippi, but I.
Well, he was born here, but his daddy was from, and mother was from Mississippi. But he's my stepson.
Oh, okay.
He was here about 3 or 4 weeks ago,
Where is he then now?
Texas.
Got myself?
Where's Cat?
How long did it
Counties
take
of
you? Right?
Tallahassee.
How long did it take?
Most of it was done in about 10 months. Most of it. But I played with it for so long. And it was weird the way that happened. I mean, there were certain stories in it that I didn't feel totally comfortable with. There's a story in the book called My Meeting with Malcolm X. And you could look at that story, the first version I had of it, and you could say, well, this person is putting Denzel down a little bit. Denzel Washington acting. And that's not what I was trying to do. That's not what I was trying to do at all. And then, for some reason, I saw an interview on some channel with Spike Lee, and he was talking about the Malcolm X movie. And I said, you know what, I need to revisit that story. And I went back to it, and I changed some things to make sure that people were clear that this was not a knock on Denzel. This was the raising of Harry Lennox. Harry Lennox is, he's on the blacklist, I think. I don't watch TV much, so I don't, but I think he's like the CIA director right now on the blacklist. He's right now, he might be about my age, but he's a tall, light complexion black guy. When I was in Chicago, I had gone to a play on the South Side. It was called The Meeting. And it was a hypothetical, because it didn't happen in reality. They only met briefly. Hypothetical meeting between Malcolm X and Martin Luther King. And what they would have said if they had met. And I'm a Malcolm guy. I'm sitting there in the audience, and this guy's playing Malcolm X, and it literally scared me. He was so good. That was Malcolm. He looked like Malcolm. He was Malcolm's height. He had all the mannerisms down, everything. And so 3 or 4 years later, the movie was about to come out. And I was talking to a professor friend of mine about the movie about to come out. We were talking about the fact that Denzel played the role and whatever. And I said, I said, Charles, I know why they got Denzel. I know they got him because he's a name. I said, I saw this guy play Malcolm X play on the South Side. I said, Charles, that scared me. And he said, who was it? I said, well, a guy named Harry Lennox. He said, oh, you mean Harris? Now I'm friends with Charles. I said, what do you mean? You say it like you know. He said, I do. He's one of my students. So I got to meet Harry Lennox, and I told him. I said, did you read from Malcolm? He said, yeah, I did. And he said, well, he said, did you know that's how things go? I said, yeah, I know. I said, but I want to tell you, you were Malcolm. And Charles told me that some of Harry's friends got afraid for him when he was playing in the meeting because he got lost in character in his real life. So that's how good he was.
Denzel would understand.
Yeah, but I mean, I told him. I mean, I like Denzel. Denzel's a great actor, but nobody, in my mind, could have played that part better than Harry Lennox. And I now have met a cousin who knew Harry Lennox while she was in school, and she said something I hadn't even thought about. She said, you know what? If Harry had gotten that part, we would be talking about him in the same breath that we're talking about him. That would have made his career. They even did. I mean, he's still done well, but I think he would be at a whole other level.
Thomas, when you were writing the book, did you get any editorial help from an editor or just friends? Or
I got a proofreader in the audience.
Okay, good.
No, I didn't get it. If you want to say editorial changes and that kind of stuff, no. But as a proofreader, basic grammar kind of stuff, the person sitting in front of me, and my sister. But most of it, and I know that's one of the things that I'm proudest about this book. You may find a mistake, but you won't find any. And I know there are books put out commercially that have way more than mine.
Can you think of other folks in the Black community here that are older, that could lend themselves to your interviewing them? They may not be capable now of writing, but if you could hear their stories to add, to our history.
Well, I've got several different ideas that I want to do, but I mean, the problem is everybody's coming to me. I mean, and like different people come to me wanting me to help them with projects, and I don't mind doing that, but it's taking me away from what I need to do too, because there's something going on with the whole central school thing. People want a book written about that, and somebody has been trying to get that together, and they want me to help them with that, and I understand why, and I want to help, and I will, but I gotta be careful what I commit to.
You gotta stay true.
Yeah, exactly. I
Is
have.
that school system?
Yeah, yeah, but I mean, and I'm talking about, and I agree with this. I would love to see a very detailed, thoroughly researched history of that book. And and this ain't me being arrogant. Who better is going to come along for that community to do it?
Because I think you're gonna do your best, is when you think you're the best to do it.
Right.
But yes, I mean, yeah, that's four or five books. There's a Lincoln book.
There's some wonderful, we're losing our elders that we can turn to. I wanted to interview Charlie Robbins before he died, and all I can ever say is, I didn't get to it. I didn't get to it. I didn't get to it.
It happened to me too. I had 101 at the time. It started 103. My father kept telling me, "You better get down here and talk to her. She's not gonna live forever." And I never did. And I never talked to her. I got her on tape since I started research. But God helped me in the sense that she had a 97-year-old sister. So I did meet that. And that's another thing about Robin. Longevity is normal in Robin. I mean, there's a family of Broward. There were 14 of them. 9 of them lived to be 90 or older.
Who was the gentleman name? I can't think of his whole name. His last name was Matthews. He lived in Ramsey, and they called him Hitler. And he knew where one of my ancestors' graves was out in the woods, so I wanted to talk to him and interview him. And so I went down to Ramsey to meet him and film it. And I told him, Mr. Matthews, he had worked, I think, for Sapona for 5,000 years. But they called him Hitler. And that had just been his name all of his life. Just a wonderful, wonderful man. And when I sat down, I told him, I said, I come from a generation, I said, where I just don't know if I can call you Hitler. And he just busted out laughing. He thought that was the funniest thing. And he said, little lady, he said, that's just what my name is. He said, my boss man named me that because I used to have a little mustache. And he'd call me Hitler, and I've been Hitler all my life. And he gave me a picture of his father with a plow. And his father's name, his real name is Africa. Well, they were from Ramsey, but I've got to do because he's
Is it
gone.
Matthew?
Hitler's gone now.
Matthew?
Mm-hmm.
I was going to tell you a story. I'll let you finish.
No, I don't know the
Okay.
story.
There's a person named Stephanie McCrimmon, they had a book put together by Moore County Historical Book. There were several black families in the book. And I'm reading through the book, and I come across, the Browers, which is what I'm married to. And reading it, and almost every entry for black families in that book, a person providing information was a woman named Stephanie McCrimmon. And so I look at Joyce, I said, Joyce, who is this Stephanie McCrimmon? And she starts laughing. I said, why are you laughing? She said, because. She said, well, her great grandmother is Missy Manus. I said, you joking. Missy Manus is my great grandmother's sister. She said, yeah, and she said that it doesn't stop there. I said, what do you mean? She said, well, her great great grandmother is Elizabeth Ritter Walker. So we were related. I said, and yeah, my great great grandfather is Anderson, who is Elizabeth's brother. So we were related on both sides. So when I met Stephanie had been doing research for like 25 years. And she told me early on in our conversation, I'm down there. She said, hold on, I got something. She comes out, she hands me the piece. I said, what's this? I said, what's this? And I mean, I couldn't make heads or tail of it. She said, that's Laura's marriage the first time. Laura is my great grandmother. Laura married a guy named Edinburgh Walker, who was my great grandfather. I didn't know that Laura had been married before. So Laura is my grandmother's mother. Laura had children by a guy named Abram Matthews. So that's why I asked you this Matthews thing. I haven't done anything with that. I know that she had twins by Abram. I think Della and Ella. And I heard they had been up in the high point area. But when I heard Matthew's name, I said, that's probably a connection. I said, so now, Stephanie, you send me off on a whole another branch I didn't even know existed. She said, well, you got proof that it existed. Here's the marriage license. And on the marriage license, Laura was too young to marry her son. Her father had to sign, which is my great-great-grandfather. See his signature. And her sister's husband, Jesse, was a witness. So when you see all this signature, this is crazy. There's the man.
He was a super guy. But then when he gave me the picture of his father, and I started to do some work on African Matthews because it's such a there's no way that name can be mixed up anywhere. I mean, I should be able to follow that trail easily, but I thought it was just amazing to have. There's going to be an amazing story just in that family, in that line.
I'm thinking about what the lady said about Indian people, and it could work with the Central.
You could.
Because,
I mean, I thought of it.
yeah, there are people
Yeah.
that you could interview
Yeah.
that would really, and it would like, you get their story, and,
Then put them on under one cover with the other stuff too.
Craig's mother was a student there.
I was too.
Yeah, that's true. When did Lily Park come?
my aunt died Walden. But you was talking about the 4 books you had in mind when you said Lincoln. What?
Lincoln fascinates me. I mean, right now I've got a joint project. It's a research project. I've been on it a year. It's probably going to take another 2 years. I'm contrasting Malcolm with Lincoln. And that's a fascinating comparison. It's fascinating because, in general, I'd say black historians are not famous. They're not.
I was until somebody, when
Yeah,
I was a little younger, it was like, he didn't do all of these,
but I
but
mean,
he really did.
it's complex.
It's more
It's
deep
very
than,
complex.
it's deeper than what
Yeah,
is
yeah,
on the surface.
and that's what I wanted to know. Because for one, you have to put him in his time.
Right.
That's part, and nobody can escape that. And for his time, where his mind was
A above.
Yeah, and it's way,
He was way
Yeah.
before his time.
and some of the stuff he says I can't stand because I don't have any affinity for white supremacy. I don't.
Right.
But he's a part of his time. And when you see some of the stuff he's doing and what he's got to take into account, say there are like 5,000 decisions he has to make as president over those 4 years of the Civil War.
Right.
When you look back, I'd say he was right. Got 4,500 of them.
Yeah.
And he's got everybody telling him
Telling
what to
him.
do.
Yeah,
And everybody is assuming they're his intellectual superior. And the truth is, he never met that guy.
That was not.
He didn't exist.
Yeah.
Not at that time. He just did. But they thought because he was a hick
Right.
from Kentucky,
Right.
and he dressed funny, he was awkward.
We looked for.
Yes. But as the young people say, that was a fraud. Because they just did not realize the depth.
Well, they didn't try to figure it out. They just.
Yeah. They just assumed they were superior. But one of the things, I'm going to bring this up because it kind of fits. There's a guy named Michael Burlington who's written a 2-volume biography. The truth is, and I told him this in an email, we will not see a more comprehensive, more thorough biography of Lincoln probably for the next 100 years. Because this guy has really, really, really done his homework. To the point where he quotes somebody that it blew my mind. And he quoted this person twice. Know who this person was? Jonathan Worth. He quoted Jonathan Worth twice in that. And I said, how crazy is that with who I am? Me being into this project for Lincoln, and I'm reading the most thorough biography that exists. Everybody says that. There's a guy named James McPherson who's considered a Civil War expert. He's one of the best ones out there. I've got some issues with him, some, but in general, he's a great historian. But one of the things he says on the back of Burlingame's book is, this guy knows more about Lincoln than anybody living. And I had written a review of this book on Amazon, and I had sent him like an email. I didn't know him, and told him, and he sent me an email back saying that your review of my book is a historian's dream. But I told him, I said, you mentioned somebody from my hometown twice who was a contemporary of Lincoln's. I said, how crazy is that?
You're standing on Worth Street.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the kind of stuff that keeps happening. Growing up, one of my heroes, basketball heroes, was David Thompson. I tell anybody, the greatest college player that ever existed in North Carolina, and it ain't even close. And that includes Michael Jordan. Not as a college player. I've been a fan for years. I wrote a book. I have 2 stories with David Thompson in here. The prayer breakfast in Asheboro invites speakers every year. When I had written a book, they had some Supreme Court justice. The next year, guess who's showing up? David Thompson. What do? I get the American copy of the book. He gives me 2 tickets. I said, David Thompson shows up in Asheboro? Is that a mistake? Is that a coincidence? I said, tied together with the other stuff. You run into the first African American president, become friends with a good friend of Martin Luther King, become acquaintances with a good friend of Malcolm X's family. All of that black history. But it's cost us so deep. That's why it keeps coming. I don't even have to look for it. Yes. Divine.
Is it not? That's right.
Yeah.
Well, around you.
And I don't know, this was in the national, in the late 90s. There was in Malcolm X's daughter had been charged with trying to hire somebody to kill Louis Farrakhan because their family always believed that Farrakhan had something to do with the assassination. I believe that. I have my reasons for believing it. I mean, you're not going to be able to tie it directly, but I believe it. Betty Shabbat, Malcolm's widow, so her daughter believes it. So, but she had been charged with trying to hire somebody because she's got some psychological problems. And I'm reading this biography on Betty Betty Shabazz, and I was with her. Again, I put the books aside. This is crazy. Betty Shabazz had not spoken to to Farrakhan since Malcolm had been assassinated. This was the late 90s, so 30 years later. Since she had not spoken to Farrakhan, who had been a good friend, quote unquote, when they were alive, when he was alive, she had not spoken to him. And Farrakhan has always had that, quote unquote, stain on his reputation in the black community. Always. And he will always have it. Or not. He will. But, so he kind of wanted to mend that fence. And so he saw this as an opportunity to do it. He said, if I, be sympathetic and say y'all should charge her and all that. So he did that. And in order to do that, he had to kind of try to get up with Betty Shabazz. And in order for that to happen, there had to be a mediator to bring them two together. That was Hakeem, the person I know.